Hello, Dave.
Hello, Matt. How's it going?
All right. What's new with you?
Still no Humble Bundle check.
I'll send a nasty email, I guess.
Don't send a nasty email, but if you can ask him, if he doesn't, if he finds out that the check hasn't gone out, can we switch to FedEx? And I'll give you the Aardvark Anaheim FedEx number right now.
Okay.
So it'll work with the street address, which presumably he already had because you contacted him specifically to give it to him.
Yes.
Yeah. The FedEx number is 11699078 4.
11699078
That's the one.
All right.
And we'll see what happens with this. I told you this one had test written all over.
Well, that's, when I was getting ready to leave and was, we still haven't gotten the check yet. I'm like, let me just make sure they have the right address. And it's, no, we don't. It's like, guys, we're going to sit on the check for how long before you finally said, hey, what's going on?
I do find that curious. I mean, I try. Let's not try and turn everything into a conspiracy theory, but at what point do you go? Excuse me, we've got a check for somewhere around $80,000 sitting here. Should this go to somebody? And where should it go to them? And maybe we should contact them and find that information out if we don't have it.
Well, that's it's one of those questions where you go, wait, what?
How does that go again? Say again, Houston. Okay, you started off here.
Well, it's that time of the month.
It is. It is indeed that time again.
So it's my turn to remember Jeff, and I got a couple of them, because I actually had, I can't say it was a Jeff experience, it was the memory of Jeff popped up on my vacation.
Oh, it did?
And so we flew to Florida, then we got rental cars and drove to Key West, because it was part of the planning when we were planning the trip was, we'll have a day where we're sitting around doing nothing. We can get a bus trip, then the bus will take us to Key West, and we spend the day, and then they bring us back. And then when my in-laws were coming with us, they have a 1.5-year-old, and he's not going to ride on a bus.
Oh, okay. That's a given, is it?
Well, he kind of has stranger dangers, and only a real jerk puts a 1.5-year-old on a bus full of strangers and goes, well, it'll be fine. So we rented cars and we drove down there, and on the itinerary of things that I wanted to do and Paula wanted to do was go to the Hemingway house and see the polydactyl cats and take the tour. And I'm going, she wants to see the cats, and I'm like, I want to do weird stuff with a Ham Ernest Way coaster.
Okay.
So I'll send up the photos. It's not quite like the Hemingway house in Cuba, and one of the things that on the tour that they explained was Pauline was his first wife. Her uncle bought them this house,
right,
and gave it to him as a wedding present. And when Ernest moved on from Pauline, she got to keep the house, and the boys inherited it when she died, and they were, what are we going to do with Mom and Dad's house? And it's, we'll sell it. And they sold it to somebody who turned it into a tourist attraction, and the sons are pissed.
You're kidding. I didn't know that part.
Patrick is 96 years old, and he is still fighting with the people that bought his parents' house.
Probably for a song.
Yeah, it was one of those, they made money on the deal, but they didn't make as much money as they could have if they had kept the house and turned it into their own tourist attraction.
Right.
You know,
Right.
as we're taking the tour, I'm going, wait a minute, this guy's 96, and he's begrudging the people that are doing a tour of his dad and mom's house because, you know, he grew up in this house. Like, you know, his childhood bedroom is gone. They've turned it into a museum to his father. And yes, I could see being upset about that, but at the same time, you're 96. At a certain point, the words "let it go" come out. So we
Yes.
went to the house.
I was just going to say.
Well, we went to the house, and one of the things that I love about it is, you know, we got into Fort Lauderdale, or we got into Key West, and we checked into our motel, and the kids are like, we're going to the pool, and my in-laws were like, yeah, we're just going to hang out, and Paula and I are like, we're going to the Hemingway house. Like, this, you know, they close in an hour, it's 3 blocks away, we're going there. And, of course, we're using the internet to find the place instead of a map, so instead of going 3 blocks, we went 7 blocks in the heat. And we got there, and, like, they close in 45 minutes, and it's, are you guys still open? And the guy is like, yeah. And very, very laid back 20-something. You can tell that his family owns this house or runs the museum because he does not give a crap at all. And it's like, you know, okay, he pays us and gives us the tickets, and you know, Paul is trying to strike up a conversation. He very much, I don't care. Give me your money. Go away.
Right.
And
right.
we take the tour, and before the tour started, we're out, sitting on the porch, and one of the things they tell you is you can pet the cats, but don't pick them up. And I'm going, all right. I mean, it's a cat. The cat's going to do what the cat's going to do. Well, we're sitting out on the porch, and there's a cat, and we're petting the cat, and the cat jumps up on my lap, and I'm like, you know, people walk by, I'm like, I didn't touch him. He did this of his own volition. Like, hands up, I'm not guilty. And
yeah, you could see that one coming.
And so then we go into the house because the tour is going to start, but we figure, okay, we'll get into the room where the tour starts, and that way we don't have to worry about it. And on the wall is a picture of Ernest and Pauline, and Ernest and his second wife, and Ernest and his third wife, and Ernest and Mary. And I'm like, immediately I'm like, oh, there's a little stand here, and I put the coaster on it and take a picture, and I'm like, there we go. You know, the beginning of let's do weird things with a coaster.
There you go. Have Ernest way as we knew it.
And we go through the tour, and the guys, you know, telling us, you know, this is what happened, and there's in one of the rooms there's a shrine to his first trip to Africa with his first wife, and I'm going, okay, take a picture of this because I'll send it up to Dave, and he'll be like, I finished the book 20 years ago, Matt. I don't care.
No, I wouldn't say that, but keep going.
But so, you know, we go through the house, and one of the things they do at this house is they do weddings. And I saw on a map that for $400 you could book the house for a wedding. I'm like, that's really cheap, but at the same time, you know, I'm sure there's other factors. And I told Paul this. I'm like, yeah, it's only $400, and she looked it up online. She's like, no, Matt, it's $10,000. I'm like, well, the map says it's only $400. $400 probably gets you into the building, and then after that, they're like, oh, you want to have a wedding? Well, now you got to start, you know. But they were setting up for a wedding, and they were going to have a wedding right after they closed. So we're there at the end of the day, and we get done with the tour. And one of the things I love about it, so the house has a veranda around the second floor, and Ernest set it up so that he walked out of his bedroom, and his writing studio was in the upstairs of the garage, and he had a bridge built that went from the veranda to the garage, so you could just get up and walk across it. And I'm like, oh, that's really neat. And we get out on the veranda, and there's this giant tree. and you can't see the garage. And I'm like, what? And on the tour, the guy goes, yeah, he had a bridge, but it got knocked down by a hurricane 30 years ago, and it hasn't been replaced. I'm going, oh, it's one of those museums. This is the house that he lived in, and he wrote, and they went through which of the books he wrote in this house, and it's so amazing. And the bridge got knocked down, but we're not going to put it back up. And I'm thinking, that's because there's hurricanes more than once.
Right.
So we get done with the tour, and you can go up the stairs into the writing studio, and it's one set of stairs up, one set of stairs down. I'm like, well, we got a few minutes. I'm going to go up and take a look at it, because the tour didn't show it to us. And I get up there, and it's caged. You can see it, but it's big iron bars. You can't actually go into the room. And I'm like, oh, so the odds of getting the coaster on his desk by his typewriter, kind of like Eddie did with a copy of Form and Void down in Cuba, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
So I have a picture of me holding the coaster in the bars with the desk in the background.
Okay, well, hey, close enough. How far away was the desk?
7 feet.
That's good.
I thought of throwing it in, and then I was in the gift shop, and I was going to ask, hey, do you guys carry Form and Void by Dave Sim? It's about Hemingway, sorta. And I'm like, no, they're closing, they don't care.
That's right.
But it was funny because the guy that sold us the tickets, and the guy that, and we bought the tickets, walked up to the front of the house, and they took the tickets, and there was a guy and a girl there, and another guy, and the guy that sold the ticket, and the girl, and the one guy, all looked related. Like, they were definitely siblings. And I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And then we got to the gift shop, and there was another girl that kind of maybe was a cousin, and an older woman who was definitely related. I'm like, it's a family-run business, it's just not Ernest's family.
Right.
So, it was kind of Jeff-ish of, we're in Key West, and we decided to go out for dinner to the very first Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, which he opened in Key West. And I'm going, and so we're going out to eat, just Paula, her sister, her sister's husband, and me, just the four of us. We left all the kids with Grandma at the motel. And we park, and we ended up around the corner from Mile Zero on US 1, which goes from Key West all the way up to the Canadian border in Maine.
Wow.
And Paula wants a picture at Mile Zero, and I'm like, yeah, okay. So she gets her picture, I get my picture, and as we were walking up, I realized, because Mile Zero is 2 blocks from the ocean. It actually is a mile from the edge of the island. And right behind the mile marker, which, it's a nice touristy thing that you can take your picture, there's a tree, and behind the tree is an Adopt a Highway sign, and Mile Zero is adopted by the Parrot Heads of Key West. And I'm going, that's a joke, right? Because there actually isn't a mile there. Like, they don't actually clean it. They did it as a joke thing. And Paul's going, no, I'm pretty sure they're philanthropic organization that they would volunteer and do stuff. And I'm going, but it's not a real mile. I think that's the joke. So I got my picture next to the Parrot Head sign, and I was thinking of Jeff immediately, going, if Jeff were here, which what I understood towards the end was that was Jeff's retirement plan, was he was going down to Florida to live on the beach. That was what he had talked about doing before he got sick. And so then we go into the first Margaritaville, and the whole time I'm going, man, if Jeff were here, Jeff would be here. Like, I can see that this would be where Jeff went, oh yeah, I'm retiring to Florida, and what he would mean is, no, I'm going to Margaritaville, and I'm going to live across the street from Margaritaville.
I spent most of my time there.
Yes, and it was one of, and had a great time on the trip, but it was very much a, that night I was, like, I'm sitting there, and the other one is we walked in, and they put us at a table for 4 right in front of a stage where a guy was tuning a guitar and another guy was tuning his guitar, and I'm like, oh, there's a band tonight. And they put us right in front of it. And so Paul and I are sitting next to each other, and her sister and her husband are sitting across from us, and they have their backs to the stage, and the guy's like 3 feet behind them. And I'm going, well, this will be fun. And sure enough, they started playing music. It's like, yeah, that's it. This is all we're doing for the rest of the night is we're going to eat our food and drink our drinks with a band right there.
Yeah. Just in case you didn't happen to bring your own tunage with you, we've got you covered.
Well, they had a big screen, and they were showing vintage concert footage on it. And I'm going, okay, that makes sense. It's Margaritaville. It's Jimmy Buffett, at concert. And okay, now we're going to pause this, and we're going to have these guys play music. And I'm like, okay, and is it a Jimmy Buffett cover band? No. Is this a guy that played with Jimmy one time? No. Is it just two guys that happen to wander in and know the owner? Yeah, probably.
Mystery upon mystery upon mystery.
It was, like I said, it was one. I could not stop thinking about Jeff the entire night because I'm like, if Jeff were here, Jeff would be here. Like, I probably would have walked into this place and there would have been Jeff at the end of the bar going, oh, hey, I've been waiting for you. And I'd be like, Jeff, you've been here for 6 years.
Yeah. He owned a property in Florida, like part of a house that another guy owned that he bought a share of. I don't know the geographic location of it, but it was definitely in Florida, and the idea was to spend, if not the majority of his time there, a good chunk of it. I think in total he maybe got there like 2 or 3 times for a week or so.
That's, it's one of those things where I go, if Jeff were alive, what would he be doing? And it's like, I know what he'd be doing. He'd be in Margaritaville.
And it's entirely theoretical because Jeff definitely wouldn't have, if he was doing any curtailment of his alcohol intake, that wasn't going to happen living across the street from Margaritaville.
Yeah.